Father, you are gracious to us. Everything that matters is being done very well by you. Your Son is on the throne. Your Spirit is at work in the lives of everyone who's trusting him. You are ordaining your plans perfectly according to your will, and you are growing your church, and nothing and no one will ever stop that. We thank you, Father, that we are saved, precious, loved, and cared for. We thank you that though our hearts may be unsettled, though we may be frustrated, though we may be confused, you have every good thing in your hands. And we pray that as we open your word, this would be the most useful part of this morning. Hearing your voice speak to the hearts of each one of us, encouraging and caring. Amen.
Hello. So Isaiah 6, 1-8. In the year the king Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it, he touched my mouth and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here I am, send me.
Thanks, Paula. I picked this passage after I discovered that today was going to be our first day in England of lockdown 2. It's wonderful to be joined by people of other nations. You're very welcome. You might be even a bit less frustrated than us. It's lovely to see friends from even around the world joining us. But in England, we've just been told we're back to square one. And I thought I'd take you to the passage I go to when I go back to square one. I'd love to show you God. I'd love to show you us. It won't take long. We see here Isaiah being allowed to see his God, your God, the living Lord. We see him in all his glory. He is seated on his throne, and he fills every inch of the space in front of Isaiah. My eyes now are at the point where I'm starting to have to move books further away from me to read. I remember my dad doing it. It was when his arm wasn't long enough. We told him he really had to get glasses. I'm at that point. So, as you move it closer towards you, you get to the point where you can't actually see it. Now, Isaiah had that problem. God was so vast, so big, so in his face. There was nothing else to see. Just a terrifying blur in front of his eyes. And it was a multi-sensory experience. The stone pillars in the doors shook. The wind from the wings of the seraphim was on his face. When you see this God, there's only one response. I'm stuffed. You know, holy, holy, holy. You know, in Hebrew, when you say it once, you mean it. So I have a ring on my finger. It's precious. If I say it's precious once, it's precious. I don't want to lose it. I keep it close. I don't take it off. If I say it's precious, precious, in Hebrew, it means it's really very precious. It means it's a gold bar. It means I lock it in a bank. It means I never dare look at it. I never let it out. If I was carrying it, I'd be terrified of losing it. If I say it 3 times, precious, 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 it means there's nothing else to compare to it. It's the crown jewels. You're not allowed near it. You go past it on a traveling conveyor belt because you're not allowed to stand in front of it still. And between you and it is an inch of glass. You've never seen anyone touch it. The Queen puts it on her head once a decade. Precious, precious, precious. That's what you get with 3. Holy means awesomely different. Holy, holy means awesomely different to the point of being frightened. Holy, holy, holy means you and I can't work it out. Beyond imagining. What Isaiah saw that day, what they sang to him was the Lord Almighty is holy, holy, holy. His response, our response, when we see this God, this wonderful God who fills our imagination, who is beyond our imagining, who's a multi-sensory experience, is woe to me. When you say woe to me today, it sounds like you've got confidence issues. It sounds like you need to pick me up. It sounds like it's faintly abusive. It sounds like you need to have a positive mental attitude. That's because they haven't understood who God is, how awesomely different he is, that it's okay for you and I to say, I'm done in. It is okay to say in lockdown when you don't know what January holds, woe to me. He gets it, I don't, and I'm done in. I'm broken. I was broken before lockdown. I now see my brokenness every day. And he also says, I live amongst a people of unclean lips. Us and our churches are struggling. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, I am not enough for them. It's okay to look at the problems we see at the moment in our community. I feel like every week I discover one more friend who has a serious difficulty. I've never known a time in my life when so many people are so really struggling. It's okay to say, I am a man of unclean lips and I live amongst a people of unclean lips. So what are we going to do today? We are going to do verse 6, or we're going to know that verse 6 and 7 is happening. One of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he'd taken with the tongs from the altar, red hot. And he touched my mouth and said, this has touched your lips, your guilt is taken away, your sin is atoned for. The Lord Jesus Christ is that red hot coal who takes unclean lips, broken people, and says, your guilt is atoned for. You have clean lips. Do you see that? A mighty God, step 1, who fills your vision, who pushes the struggle to the side whenever you see him. In his presence, you say, I'm broken and I'm unable to do anything of value. When I compare myself to him, he says, I forgive you, I make you clean, and I make you valuable. And the response, the only response when you see that's been done for you, verse 8, here I am, send me. The difference the cross makes. Before, woe to me. I am unclean. I am broken. And next to you, I am without value. Because of Christ, I'm willing to be sent. I now believe I'm useful. I believe in the hands of the living God, I can achieve miracles because of his power at work. That is the story of lockdown. And perhaps it's the first time in our lives we've really seen it. Because the size of the task is so large, the brokenness around us is so great. It's amazing you've come here today because it says you do think there's hope. You do think there is a chance of keeping on going into January. Because with God, he says, you can be useful. Send me. Send you. You don't have to do what you can't do. You see, he doesn't go out in his own power. He doesn't pack his rucksack that he had before. He doesn't say, I'm so pleased God's got me, I'm gifted. He says, you've made me valuable to you. I'll do what you give me to do, and it won't be more than you ask me to do. And you know me better than anyone else. The Lord doesn't ask you to do what you can't do in January. He asks you to do what he will do through you in January. As ever, we start with the Bible because very little of what we say from here on in is of much value. Because this is what we need to remember. Here am I. Send me. Will you dare to pray that now? Just take a moment. It's very awkward. It's very strange. You don't have to do it out loud. You can if you like. You can be on mute. Who cares? Just take 1 minute. See what there is to pray. Dear Father, we thank you that as we look at these verses, we see what has happened to those who are in Christ. We thank you, Father, that we read truth rather than emotion, rather than how we feel about it. We read truth. We read of the change that has happened to all those who are in Christ. With faith the size of a mustard seed, we can say, my sins are forgiven. My lips have been made clean to speak of the truth of Christ. And I am willing to be sent in your power and strength to tell others of how great you are. Father, we do pray for that confidence that is not from deep within ourselves, but entirely a gift of the Spirit. Give us that confidence to lead others, to make plans, to offer them to you, and to say, your will be done. Amen. Let me tell you, I meant to tell you this earlier, but I'll tell you now. The Good Book Company have a book about to come out about Betsy Stockton. It's a children's book. I don't know when it's out. It's probably in about 6 months. But I was sent it to have a read. And it's compelling. And on the back page, for the parents, they put a big picture of Betsy Stockton. They don't know exactly when she was born because she was born into slavery. She was born a slave in about 1798. She was a domestic slave in New Jersey in America. So she was in the house. She read the books in the library and she became educated. And her owner gave her some homeschooling, so that when Betsy won her freedom, she was educated. She was also a Christian. She was a member of her local church. She heard that there was a missionary trip going to Hawaii, so she asked if she could go. She was the first ever single woman to be sent on mission. She went to Hawaii, and there she taught Hawaiian children, so not the chief's kids, normal children who had never been educated. So she was the one to bring education to them first. That's a beautiful picture, isn't it? The one whose education was by grace taught those who had never been educated. When the leader of the trip became ill, she came back to America. She then set up the first school for Native Americans in Canada. She taught them for the first time. When she was done there, she went back to New Jersey, her birthplace, and she set up the first school for Black children. And there she died. And she's in glory. Betsy Stockton, born a slave, educated, taught Hawaiian kids for the first time, taught Native American kids for the first time, taught Black kids for the first time. In the Lord's strength, in the Lord's power, she had a mighty God, and she attempted great things far beyond what was reasonable or expected. I offer you the story of Betsy Stockton. That should have gone before the prayer, but apparently it's still okay. We're now looking at 2021. You've all discovered the chat function, I'm sure, by now. It's being released by the Good Book Company in April 2021. Thank you so much, Amy. So it's a perfect Easter gift. It's a perfect Easter gift. Thank you. The chat function is where you can put your comments. If only we could just shout them out, but apparently that's not very English. In the chat function, you can put what you're thinking. You can put the links to better resources than we're mentioning. You can put your ideas. Anita is there. If you want to send anything privately, Anita is the host. Is she down as Anita or Faith in Kids? She's down as Anita. She's the first one who comes up when you click on the thing. So you can go there. We are recording everything we do, so you don't have to scribble this manically. Just like the other big day outs we've done in lockdown, they're available on our YouTube channel. We obviously take out the breakout groups. You don't have to panic during those. You're not being recorded. But all the rest is being recorded. It's on YouTube. And apparently, if you go to YouTube, you can listen to me talk at double speed, and it's far more appealing. You can put questions in chat. We're going to have breakout groups. We're going to give you a break. I think that's all I need to say before we get going. Okay? Great. We're on target. We're on track. We are now, I'm just going to lead you through some first thinking on planning for January 2021, or planning for 2021. To state the obvious, we don't know what will happen. You knew that when you came to this session. We don't know what's going to happen, and nor do you. And we've just discovered that within a week, everything can change. So planning is hard to do. We don't know what will happen, but each of you do know your families, your churches, and your community. So you are the best people to make a plan for January. A plan that might change, but you are the best people to work out what to do when that plan needs to change. So please do just remind yourselves that the great joy of the local church is you know one another and you love one another. So you will always come up with a better plan than we could come up for you. As I've said, the Lord does know the plan. So we entrust it to him. It's possible, isn't it, that as you look back since March or April, it is possible that if you look back now, you can just start to see a few stories of hope. You might like to think about that. Last night, I was in a small village in Kent with about 10 people. We all took the chance to have our last time together, all sat a very long way away wearing masks. Some joined us on Zoom. They have 3 families in their church. 1 mum was in the group. The rest were all elderly. So that is a church who are saying, we want to plan for what the next step will be for our small church. How will we reach more families? They were surprised to hear that with 3 families, they are in the top 20% of the Church of England, which is both depressing and wildly encouraging. You can pick which one you go to. So you're here because you have some families in your church. So you can use this as an opportunity to say, what can we do? Last time we talked about Christmas, and we said that families are more likely to enjoy chaos. They're more likely to enjoy being outdoors. They're used to wearing 3 coats. They're used to being in the rain. So if you run a Christmas event in your car park and it rains constantly in the wind, the families will probably say, let's do this again. Thank you for only making it 20 minutes long. All the adults without children will say, please, can we never do this again? So there are some opportunities at Christmas and in January that we never would have had before. We might be able to reach people we didn't before. I want to commend one resource to you that you'll hear a bit more about, but it's not the only thing we're talking about. Here we go. Hang on. Oh, Ed clumsily sharing. You may remember that a while ago, 2 years ago, we put out The Wonder of Easter, which was a book of family Bible times. And we said it is a book particularly aimed at those families who aren't used to doing family Bible times. It went surprisingly well. The publisher was pleased. They said to me, in honesty, Ed, we thought it would make a loss, but we were being kind to you. And would you know, Ed, it even made some money. So they decided to let us do another one because it went so well. So there is another one coming out in January. It is called Meals with Jesus. So one suggestion we're making today is that Paula later will explain the Sunday school resources we've written to go with it. But this is the family resource. I would argue that in the Lord's good providence, what would be better in January than working through a gospel and sitting at a meal table with Jesus? I'm sure lots of people have different parts of the Bible they want to go to in January. But to my mind, when we're in a corner, we look Jesus full in the face. So this is a book of 8 meals in Luke's gospel, each with Jesus. And the 9th one is the parable of the banquet. Each one is laid out to be done in 4 days because even Jesus' family didn't manage 5 Bible times a week. So we go through the passage in 3, and then the 4th one is getting to the heart, where we take the central idea, the theme of the passage, and we say to parents, we think more than just hearing the story and understanding it. There's something more to be done to get to the heart of the children and your own hearts. So the 4th day of each week is looking at the biggest idea and saying, come on, this is life-changing. And we can have one conversation together. And just like the church, we know one another best. So we're in the best place to be honest with each other about how we can be changed by this, which I think for most people is what parents want to know how to do. The question you get asked more than anything else by parents is, but how do I get my children to behave better? And if you ask exactly the same question of the adult, how does God get you to behave better? The answer is because he goes to work on your heart. I got asked that last night in that lovely rural church. Ed, what do we do with the child who runs around the church going mad? I said, what would we do with a drug addict who arrived in the church? What would we do with the alcoholic who arrived in church? What would we do with the homeless guy who arrived in church? We'd teach them the gospel. and we'd see their lives changed. And then the mum who was in the circle chipped in with, and hasn't that happened to Jimmy? Jimmy now has piano lessons paid for by the church, and he's a different child because he comes to breakfast church. And they all nodded. I've obviously never met Jimmy, but I told her to keep telling people that story. When God goes to work on the heart, we are changed. Our children are changed. So that's what this book is trying to do. It's one idea. At the end of the session, we'll give you the discount code for the ministry pack that the Good Book Company have generously given us. I think it's on sale in the bookshop for £6. The ministry pack gives it to churches for £3. At the end of the session, we'll give you that discount code. We'll tell you how to do it. I think that is one idea. There you go. Look, there's enthusiasm in the chat. Can we pre-order? Yes, you can pre-order. It's on the Good Book Company now. Amy has the only physical copy in the world at the moment because she's making the launch video for us, so I can't hold up a copy. She has one pre-launch copy. The rest of us can pre-order and it will land on your doorsteps, I'm guessing before January. But January is the launch time, but I guess it will arrive at churches sometime in December, so it's ready for your bookstores on the first week of January. You can give us more questions as we go. That is one idea. I promise we're not only going to talk about that for the next 2 hours, but we might mention other things to go with it. Okay, we're now going to go into breakout groups. I have 2 questions for you. The 2 questions for you in your lovely breakout groups. These are going to stay the same during the course of this. So tell each other your names, tell each other where you're from, tell each other how you're feeling. If you don't manage to fill your time with getting to know each other and smiling and telling each other, aren't you great? Then you can say, how far have you got in your planning for January? Have you got a first idea? Have you got your list of questions you're stuck on? That's it. That's the only question. What are you currently? I hope that was encouraging. I'm going to get rid of me as quickly as possible. You've heard a lot from me. We're now hearing from Nikki Gilchrist. Nikki, are you willing to unmute yourself? And Nikki, could you just start by, you are a part-time children's worker for Christchurch, Canterbury. Have I got that right, even?
Emmanuel Church,
Canterbury.
Right place, wrong name. It's okay.
Great. Why don't you just tell us, Nikki, in 3 sentences, what we need to know about Emmanuel Canterbury?
So we usually, in normal circumstances, meet in a school, and we're a church of, or we used to be a church of about 250 adults and then about 40 kids, but we over lockdown have planted a church, slightly bizarrely, and so that church has gone to Folkestone, so we've lost quite a number of adults and children to that church plant, so we're a smaller number now, but that's exciting. Should I say about me as well?
Yes, off you go, Nikki.
Okay, so yes, I'm the children's worker, just work part-time for the church. Yes, I've got a husband who has a quite stressful job, and that job has been really affected by COVID, so he's been under huge pressure through lockdown. I also broke my arm rather horrifically in August, so lockdown was even more exciting because I was in plaster and in pain. I've got 2 kids, 10 and 8, 2 little boys, a enthusiastic dog who actually caused the broken arm, although I've forgiven her, and 4 chickens. So that's us.
Thank you, Nikki. Nikki, you're going to give us 10 minutes on lessons you've learnt in lockdown and the beginnings of plans you've made. Yes, I am.
I'll go. Okay, so yes, I thought I'd just recap what we did during the first lockdown and what things have happened since then, and then looking forward. So during the first lockdown, we were on Zoom for church. I did a little 5-minute kids talk each week on Paul's letter from lockdown, looking at Ephesians 1, Paul's letter from the severe lockdown of jail, and how he remained joyful in Christ. And that seemed to work well. That's all I could manage with doing homeschooling with my 2 little boys. So that's what we did for the kids, apart from phone calls and things. And then, as I mentioned, Emmanuel works meets in a school hall. And as restrictions started to ease, they let us come back to the hall, but said they couldn't allow us to use any classrooms. So our only option was to do Sunday school in the playground. And so that's what we started to do. And I think the big humbling lesson for me has been that as adults, we tend to grumble and see all the problems, like being outside. What's going to happen if it's bad weather? What's going to happen if they get really cold? Are we going to have children with hypothermia? How's this going to work? Are they going to hear us? The worksheet's going to fly around. I think just as adults, we see problems. And the big learning thing for me is that kids are so resilient and they really need to meet together. I think they've found it hardest. I think of all the demographics, being on Zoom church is just really hard. They're not having any of that interaction or messing around or seeing their mates. And actually, even though it's been challenging at times being outside, they have loved it. And so, for example, this last Sunday in Kent, it was horizontal rain and really like gale force winds. I woke up and I thought, I don't even want to go outside, let alone run Sunday school in that. And so I texted round all the parents, are we up for this? Is this sensible? Just in case anyone's being worried. They all came back within about 5 minutes saying, our kids are desperate to come. Please don't cancel. We really want to do it. And so all these kids turned up for outside Sunday school. And we actually had some guests as well. And one of the little girls who came, who was a guest at our church, she was overheard saying to her mum at the end of the session, that was the best Sunday school class I've ever been to, which is just really encouraging, because I think as adults we see the problems quite easily, and kids just roll with it, and they really need to meet together. So that's my big take home. So yeah, we had 2 weeks back at church, looking back in September. Then one of our setup team, who sets out all the chairs and things, he tested positive for COVID, so we had to go back on Zoom for another 2 weeks. Then we came back, and we've had 4 weeks back at the school, and now we're obviously locked down. So have another 4 weeks on Zoom at least. So I'm sure all of us have felt that kind of up and down. And I was just saying to my breakout room, I felt like I've scrumpled up my plans and thrown them in the bin so many times and had to kind of start with a blank sheet of paper. So basically, I've got two future plans going forward. One, if we're allowed to meet back, and Boris allows us to meet after the 2nd of December. And one if we're still on Zoom. So the first plan, the ideal plan, would be that we were allowed to come back, that we're able to recommence playground Sunday school outside. We've asked the school if they might allow us to have classrooms, and we'll keep on asking. They did make one classroom available for the younger group, so our 3 to 7s have actually had 2 weeks inside, but the older group are outside. The lessons learned for me is that they, just like us, are feeling the fact that we aren't getting relaxed time with our friends. And I think that's been really, they're feeling the lack of that in the same way that we are. And so after our first mini break for the positive COVID test that we had to break for Zoom, when we came back that first Sunday, we did a little game. We always start with a little game, and then we were into the teaching. And honestly, they were just messing around and making each other laugh. And they did not want to hear my voice at all. They just wanted to poke each other, although they're not allowed to touch each other. They wanted to make each other laugh. They were making silly faces. They were running around. It was like, just puppies in. It was not fun. And so. And actually I realised that they were just desperate to have some hangout time, because they're not allowed to play with each other before the service. They used to run around the playground before the service. They're not allowed to hang out afterwards. We have to all just go home straight after the service. And that they're really feeling the lack of that. So we organised the plan, and we now start with a good 10-15 minutes of football. It's majority boys in my older group, and so we start with 10 minutes of football. We're allowed to play football as long as we don't touch the ball with our hands, so we sanitize the ball, and then we're allowed to kick it around, and they just mess around, hang out for 10 minutes first. That also benefits because they get warm, hot and sweaty, which means that they're less likely to get hypothermia sitting down outside in December. So so we're doing that to start with. Then they sit down. There's good snack, a Kit Kat, and they all bring their water bottles, so they sit down on their own chair. On their chair they have a sheet. Those handouts do fly around, so Kit Kat doesn't really weight it down if it's gale force winds. So we're thinking about what we can do. But I think I have seen that having a handout helps, because they're concentrating and have something to take home and then discuss with their parents. What the handout thing is up in the air, and then teaching is interspersed with games that get them up and running around, so they again stay warm, and lots of snacks and sweet prizes if they know the memory verse. If they basically there's sugar flying to keep sorry, that's what we do. So that's playground Sunday school, and that's the ideal that we'd do that. And then plan B is to be back on Zoom. So this term, whether we're in playground Sunday school or whether we're on Zoom, we're going through Old Testament characters. We're telling the story of their life, lessons learned, and then we're pointing forward to Jesus. Our memory verse is John 5:39, where Jesus says that all scripture is about him. And so the idea with the Zoom Sunday school is that we're going to teach using a Zoom video they can play either while their parents listen to the sermon or do it as a family in the afternoon, a session that they can all do as kids on the Old Testament characters. This week it's Joseph, and they'll learn about Joseph and what happened in his life and how it all seemed to be going wrong. And then in the service itself, there's a 5-minute kids talk on how we point forward to Jesus, and how we can then apply that to ourselves. So the fact that God is in control even when it seems that everything's going wrong. So yeah, and I'm also emailing out a pre-literate handout and a handout for those who can read and write that will go along with the session plan on Zoom, so that they can hopefully do that with their parents. And last night we had a partners night, and encouraged them to have that conversation going on through the week. And I just wanted to mention one little boy. I'm not going to mention his name because he's an adopted boy, and so parents want to keep him off the internet. But this little chap, he through Zoom really struggled with a screen. His whole life has been about change and turmoil, and lots of changes in his life. He's been adopted about a year ago. He's doing really well, but he really struggled with Zoom church. I think more than any of the other children at church. Didn't want to come onto the screen, didn't want to chat on the screen. And then even when we started back, he said he didn't want to come back because he didn't want it to be different, and he couldn't cope with anything more that was different. Now this little boy came on Sunday morning for the first time, and he was wearing a Spidey suit with a full mask so that no one could see his face. And he was hiding behind his parents and looking really nervous. But at the end of Sunday school, he just lifted up his little mask and gave me a great big smile, and said he'd loved it. And it just broke my heart. And for that little boy, it made it all worthwhile. I'm getting all emotional. He's the one I'm doing it for when I'm planning and thinking of all these plans I'm screwing up and throwing in the bin, and all the work and the sanitizing and the thinking through all the regulations and the guidelines and how we're going to make this work. Actually, for him, he was scared about coming. He was finding it really hard to relate online. But if we can meet back, I'm going to do all we can to enable that little boy and others like him to come to church, to meet with Christians, to know he's loved, and to feel safe in an environment where he can see people who love him. So that's my future plans. Any questions?
We could ask a question now. While you stick something in chat, anyone else? Nikki, what I'm hearing from you is that you're trying to love children and remember their children, rather than having a grand plan, which perhaps when we don't see them Sunday by Sunday, it's tempting to believe when we're not around children that grand plans, more handouts, are the solution to the problem. And And it's when, you know, did I tell you last time the phrase heavyweight boxers have, everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face? And then, it, you know, it's like that with Sunday school. Everyone has a plan until the children run around the playground. And you think, oh, well, that plan's not working.
Yeah.
And what your story brilliantly shows, Nikki, is love for the children is always better than a plan that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to tell us a story that gets you emotional, because it does demonstrate exactly why we're all doing this today. It's not because we enjoy being on Zoom. Thank you, Nikki. Nikki, can I ask you one question? How do you work out when to stop sending parents more handouts?
Well, so far they've been appreciated. So
Great.
I guess, yeah.
That's the answer. If they still appreciate them, keep doing them.
Yeah. If the WhatsApp messages dry up, or you know, or yeah, then I mean, there's very little on the handouts are breaking codes and doing hangmans and so I'm trying to make so that they're not information heavy. They're more trying to get them engaged and hopefully opening God's word and being detectives themselves to find the answers.
Thank you, Nikki. Nikki, there is a question for you. Do you Zoom at the same time as the service or at a different time from the service? With children, do you Zoom with the children same or different time?
So yes, so I've had different thoughts on this. So for me and my family, my husband and I are really keen to do church as a family. We think that's one of the really special things about lockdown, is that actually we've all sat in a room together. My youngest, who's 8, tends to play Lego through the sermon, but my 10-year-old has actually really enjoyed sitting and listening to the sermon and with us. So we've been able to chat it over during lunch. Now I'm aware that that's not everyone's experience, and so I think what I wanted to do was record something that families could then decide whether they put it on a different device in a different room during the sermon for kids to do on their own, or as we will do as a family, we'll do the service all together, and then in the afternoon Ed and I will sit down with our kids and do Sunday school with them, and we'll do that content together. So I'm recording a Zoom video that then they'll pause and do little activities on the handouts. So it's not live. It's recorded, but they can either use during the service or at a different time.
Thank you. Nikki, you're being asked the question, do you create your own handouts or find them on other sites? And I need to say before you answer that Nikki's one of the most creative people I know. So I know what her answer is going to be, but whatever she now says, don't be intimidated. She sort of writes handouts in her sleep. Off you go, Nikki. Do you write your own or find them on websites?
I do write my own.
Very good, Nikki. And that's the gifting the Lord has given you, but not everyone needs to in order to reach some sort of standard that we all believe we should be reaching. Thank you.
Amen.
Catherine Ogden says there's some interesting research about foster and adopted children and Zoom and why it's really tricky for them. Catherine, if you found that research, put the link in the chat. I'm sure someone would thank you.
Oh.
Sorry, I accidentally clicked with my flappy hands. Can I tell you an idea for how Meals with Jesus could work? And it's what people who run parachurch organizations who don't run churches think. So I excuse myself for that. But an idea for Meals with Jesus is that the whole church does it for about 3 months. That you could preach through the meals in Luke's gospel with the adults. Because for children, repetition is never a bad thing, you could get families to do the book in the weeks. And the vicar could start every week by saying, I know you haven't caught up. It's totally fine. My family hasn't caught up. Don't feel guilty. Let's keep going. And you could also take the resources that Paula is about to tell you about and work out how they could be used for children. In other words, there are 3 ways you could go at it. The book in the home, the resources to bring church and families together, and vicars could preach their way through it. Now, you could clearly pick 1, 2, 3, or none of those options, and you would still be loved by Jesus. But it's one idea. If I just take you to our website, this is about the most exciting day in the history of our website. If you go down from the homepage, faithinkids.org, if you go past the adverts, you're here, you don't need to see that advert again. You come to our latest resources. So at the moment, the two most recent resources are the two that are the most useful ones for you. This one is God with Us, which is launching today. So this is the resources we trained you on at the last big day out a month ago, which you can watch double time on YouTube, so I'm less tedious. If you click on that, you'll go through, and this is where you can download them for free, 5 ideas with at least 1 video. On YouTube, you can get more. All resources are released today, so these can be downloaded. If I just, is that there? Okay. Download all files. I'm just having to move my pictures of you beautiful people to show you that button. If I go back here, you can find the Meals with Jesus free downloads of those Sunday school resources that Paula is about to mention to you. Okay, she's going to do more than mention. She's going to explain them fully. But in just the same way, today, for the first time, they are available. Download all files for free, Sunday school resources, all that you could need. Paula, do you think these Sunday school resources are any good?
All right. I'm going to tell you now why they're so good.
Tell us about them, Paula.
Okay, well, hi, everyone. I'm Paula. I work with Faith and Kids, and I work on the resources. And I am excited about this because I've been working on it. So I've been able to see all of the fun, different elements of it. And I think, I want to do this with the kids. I want to sit with them and have a party. I want to have a meal with them for 9 weeks. So that is our new Sunday school resource that we are launching today. Meals with Jesus, that's right. It wouldn't be a proper unveiling if we didn't have a paper plate visual. I know Amy's happy to see that. And you might think, okay, that's pretty low budget. What is the resource going to look like? But that's just because no one sent me a book or anything to hold up. So I had to use my paper plate. So I'm now going to try to be tech savvy and share my screen. So bear with. Right. And share. And that button is it. There. Hurrah. There we go. You can tell I'm not the most tech wow person, but now we have pictures. So as Ed said earlier, the book is coming out in January, which we're all very excited about. So our master plan is all coming together. January, you're just going to wake up 2021 and you're going to be like, boom, it's time for Meals with Jesus. What we really need are some Sunday school lessons to go alongside this. Here they are. We have written them for you. We've got these 9 lessons and we can't wait for you to be downloading them, having a look at them, and telling your pastor that you really need to be doing what Ed was saying, preach the passages, get the parents all reading the book, and then Sundays, it all comes together. You look at the key passages and you get to do those lessons together as a church family and doing it with your kids. So that is what we are unveiling today, and we're really excited about it. And what we have done is a little bit like what we did for the wonder of Easter. So just to remind you of the joyful wonder of Easter, we had our book and then we wrote some Sunday school lessons to go alongside it. And we were so encouraged by what the people said. And as you can see, there's a dad looking so thrilled to have been a donkey. What was so great about these is that they were used in lockdown. So we wrote them as Sunday school lessons, but already we know that this is the kind of resource that could easily be used as a resource for church at home. So we've done the same thing with Meals with Jesus. We've brought out the book of family devotions. So families get to go through the book at home, and then on a Sunday, they get to go through the key passage together at church. So what is the Meals with Jesus Sunday School resource? Well, as we said, it's 9 lessons, and those are all passages from Luke's Gospel. And each passage, it lets you take a seat at the table and see what Jesus is really like. His kindness and his compassion just overflows as he chose to sit, eat, and spend time with the sinners the outcasts, the broken, the needy, and the marginalized. He never pushed those people away. He always welcomed them in, no matter who they were or what they had done. And that is what Jesus is like. And in every lesson, you get to amaze your kids as you tell them about another surprising person who got to have a meal with Jesus. And then the best part is, if you look at the last lesson there, the greatest party ever, that's how you get to finish the series. You hear about this great banquet where one day you, yes, you get to have a meal with Jesus. So all of these lessons, they are the key passages that are looked at in the book. So families at home, you get to take your bite-sized chunks of the passage over the week, and then it all gets pulled together in this fun-filled lesson on a Sunday. Now, we have mentioned a few times that lockdown 2 is starting today, and maybe you're all thinking, why is this girl telling me about, this amazing thing that's going to be done in church as if COVID doesn't exist? Well, it is a Sunday school resource, but it is so jam-packed with fun ideas and such simple ways to teach the passage that it really can be easily adapted. You guys have so many skills. You guys, like Ed said, you're the ones who know your families. You know what they need. And you can be confident that just like with the wonder of Easter, you put those in the hands of parents and they were able to do it. They did it at home, and you can do the same with this resource. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what to expect in each lesson. So I know it looks like a lot of writing, but it's really simple and great. So what we have, we start off, we've got some leader notes for everyone. So that is your kind of preparation. Where are we going? Win my heart first, and questions for my heart. Because we want to help you get your head in the passage and get the truth in your heart. That is right. Your heart does not get left out when you do these lessons, because the passage is for you too. And now, as we've said, our dream is that your pastor is just so on board with parents being discipled to be the ones who disciple their children. Obviously, the whole church family will be going through this all together. So we thought what you really need is a Bible story idea. So if you have a look on the right-hand side of the page, that is a fun Bible drama that you can do as a church family to introduce everybody to the passage. Now, maybe you're thinking, oh, we don't normally do that, and now this is going to be a wasted part of my lesson. No. Save it. You could do that all together with your kids to introduce them to the story. Or you could even use it. So if it wasn't done like that and this Bible drama hasn't been used, you could even use it in your teaching time. If you had a particularly dramatic group and you thought, this is for us, we need to have a big Bible drama. So it can be used in so many different ways. Then we have given you a lesson plan for 4 different age groups. We've got for the 3 to 5s, 5 to 7s, the 8 to 11s, and then our mixed age group is for the 3 to 11s. And that one is specifically for churches who maybe don't have enough leaders or maybe don't have enough children for you to break up into those other individual classes. So obviously each lesson plan has been written with the age group in mind, but leaders always know their children best. So if there's a game that you think just doesn't fit the children that you have, look at the other age groups, pick and mix and match to make your lesson tailor-made. As you can see on the right as well, we've got some fun pictures there of our illustrations. You will find those in every lesson. We've got excellent, clear, simple illustrations, and those would be really great to use in your teaching time, or maybe in your heart and hands when you think, I just need to help the kids remember what the story was about. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what you'll find in each lesson plan. So if you have a look at the sheet in the middle that says lesson overview, that is what each of the sections are. So the 10 minutes to focus, that's just for you when you're preparing. It's just a few questions to help you make sure that you're staying on track with your big idea in each section. You'll get going. It's that's your first game. It's like an introductory game. It's light but fun, and that's to introduce the theme of the lesson, get your kids ready for teaching time. Then your teaching time, that's where we give you a fun, engaging, age-appropriate visual Bible story idea. We don't want you just to tell the story. We really want you to help those kids to understand it. So we make a few points about how you can finish off that session with a few teaching points, all in line with the big idea. Then brain break, that's where you let off a bit of steam, have a little run around. That's your fun active game. And that's also just to get the kids ready for heart and hands. Because heart and hands, if each lesson is a meal, heart and hands is the warm chocolate brownie with salted caramel and vanilla ice cream part of the meal. It's that bit that you've just been waiting for. You're eating all the other courses just because you want to get to heart and hands. So this is the most important part of that hour that you have with your kids, because it gives them the time to talk and think about how this Bible truth makes a difference in their lives. You know, as we've said, if they're doing the book, they're getting to nibble on that truth all the way through the week. But now you're giving them a chance to really savor it, savor these truths, enjoy this passage and see how it actually changes how they think and how they feel and how they act. We've also included, to really help you in this heart and hands time, to keep things visual so that you're not just sitting there, kids getting distracted. We really want them to focus. We've given you 2 worksheets. The worksheet A is more suited to your 5 to 7s group. Worksheet B is better suited to your 8 to 11s. And that's just giving you something really visual to help those kids engage and think through and keep them focused to get the most from heart and hands. And then I know you're thinking, can there be any more? Yes, there is more, because this time we have included a printable craft sheet. Hurrah, we all love a little bit of craft, especially Ed, he loves it. So we've included a craft sheet with each lesson. Print that, have fun, use that especially for with your younger kids. You know, that's a really good time to be making this truth real to them as you go through the craft. Ask them questions, remind them of that big truth. And then we don't want the fun to stop there. We want it to go home with them as well. So the take-home truth sheet, that is for kids to take home to their parents. It's got the Bible passage, got the big idea. It's also got some illustrations. So that's going to help the kids to tell the parents what the story was. And then you've got some questions there, which those are really going to give parents a steer, you know, around the table at Sunday lunch. They've had a meal with Jesus at church. Now they're having a meal together, chat about what it is that they have learned. And Ed already showed you. Now you're thinking, where am I going to get this from? Ta-da! It's already on the website. No waiting. You can all be on there now, downloading it, get all those 9 lessons. I'm sure you all just want to see what is in there and just be getting excited about opening up this resource with your kids, with your families. Have a look at it, download it now. Start thinking about how you can use this in your setting, whatever the circumstances are. I know things are constantly changing, but the book's coming out in January. We wanted to give you a chance to have a look at the resources and to be thinking, how can we be using this? We think it's brilliant. We'd love for you to be using it as well. So that is our new resource. We're thrilled. Use it. Ed.
Thank you. Just go back to sharing it and just go back to where you see the Bible story idea. So one question has come in, which is, our pastor said we won't be back in the building until at least the new year. Can we use this online? So Paul, if you go
Bible story idea on the right. Yeah.
On the bottom right hand corner where it said, the third page on that slide, Bible story idea. So this was written to be like the all age slot you do when the children and the adults are together. So the adults know what the children are learning. When we put this out for when we did the equivalent for the Wonder of Easter, what we found was that that slot can be done as a recorded talk with the visual ideas in the what to do column. And that could be the recorded kid slot to put out on the online service. So the question of how could this be used online is that's one idea, which is the book could still be used at home. That go into the online service, and then you can just pick the items that you want to send home. The question was asked, are the games COVID secure? No, they're not written to be COVID secure, but with each of those 4 options, 3 age groups, 1 altogether, the games are deliberately chosen so that some are more running around, some are more sitting down, some are more something to do. So one of the games will always be, this is safe to do with not touching each other. Okay, there's always at least one of those. We're going to move on to a breakout group. So I just want us to, as Amy suggested, please can you put in the chat some of the things that people are saying that was so helpful. So the questions particularly that you might, clearly you can talk about whatever you like. We're going to have a break just after this. So you don't have to leave the breakout group to rush to the loo. You can do that afterwards because they're the best bit. Okay. From what you've heard, what is it that is possible? What are the problems you see? So for instance, in our group, I asked the question, what do we need to hear during this training session? And the very helpful question we got back was, I need to know what we can and can't do in lockdown to give the parents confidence. So I don't know the answer to that because there are so many websites, but those of you who have trawled, I bet there's someone who has understood that's the website I go to first to understand what I can and can't do so the parents have confidence in what I say. So for instance, that's such a good question. Let's share the great questions. Let's share the great problems and put the answers or the problems on chat. You get what I mean? 10 minutes in a breakout group. What have we heard that is inspiring? What are the problems we still have? What are the questions we need answered? Okay. Anita, the question is being asked. Oh, look, she's answered the question. This is brilliant. Well done, Anita. Anita says, this chat content will be emailed out to everyone who is here. Brilliant. You don't have to write down the links. Anita, you're brilliant. Thank you. Great. Okay. Nikki is happy to share handouts, and she's even gone and given us her own email address. You now have direct access to Nikki's extraordinary creative brain. Great. And Lucy, a different Lucy. We've got 2 Lucys giving us top tips for where they go for definitive answers on what we can and can't do. Great. There's no way we could do a session which would adequately give you that. Lucy Lucy Russell, can you just check your link because it's not working? We're going to move on now. Well done. You don't need me to read the chat. You can read your own chat. You'll be sent it afterwards. Anita will edit it. We are now going to Amy, who I feel like doesn't need an introduction. But Amy, if you had to introduce you and your church in less than 1 sentence, what would you say?
I would say, hello, I'm Amy. I go to a church in Liverpool. We meet in a leisure centre. We've got a lot of families and children, young people, about 60 or 70 kids. And we've been in tier 3 lockdown and in lockdown and lockdown 2 is going to be so much better than lockdown 1, much like Toy Story is what I'd say.
Thank you, Lucy. Sorry, you're Amy.
Yes.
Can you tell us, you are a mum, a kids worker, and you also work for Faith in Kids. Can you just tell us how you're beginning to think about January?
Great. So I'm the rogue employee. So I'm not only a Faith in Kids. I read the brand message and tell you what you need to hear. I'll say this will work, this won't work. So that's my main role in Faith in Kids, to be the rogue. So Meals with Jesus wise for January, what has been really hard about being a kids worker and planning is that you have to do the 2 things. You have to work out the content of the plan. You have to work out the delivery of the plan. And then you have to work out how to make it fun and what you're going to have to do and all those complicated things. So you've got to work the content and deliver it. And so much of our time has been spent trying to work out how are we going to deliver it? How are we going to do it differently? What can I do online? How can I do my YouTube video? What figures can I use? It's hard to do both of those things. So why the wonder of Easter was so good was because it was a plan. The content of the plan is done. I can pick it up. And the delivery of the plan is now what I can spend my time doing. And as the kids worker for my church and my families and my community, that's the bit that I'm uniquely gifted to do. That's the bit that I can work out. So, and I think as time has gone on, it's then added to, I need to work out the content of the plan, I need to deliver the plan, and I need to engage the family. Because I'm not seeing them on a Sunday, I need to get the family to do stuff at home. So I'm going to be using Meals with Jesus from January. I'm not panicking and we're not doing it now. I'm like, whoa! I'm going to download the lessons from the website and I'm going to split them up with other teachers, because that's another thing. When you have to rip plans up and throw them in the bin, you end up working on next Sunday alone, the Sunday after. So this is a more long-term plan, so I can engage more people to say, you're going to be on week 3, you're going to be on week 4, here is the plan, it's on the website. So it's a plan that I can use and pick up and run with and work out how to deliver it and engage more people with. And it's a book that I can give to families, say, this is what we're going to do together. So we're going to start on the 10th of January. We're going to be able to go round and deliver, here we are, the actual physical book to families. Our church has committed to buying them. We're pre-ordering with our discount code, our ministry packs. So families will get a book and probably some craft activities, some paper plates in there, some things for families to make. And on the 10th, we're all going to start together as families. We can do stuff on a Sunday. We can be flexible as to what that looks like. We can work that out as we go along. Some of them might be in person, some of them might be online, but we can work that out because the plan's already written. And we can encourage one another as families to share on our WhatsApp groups, on our Instagram channels, how it went today, what was rubbish, how the game went, how the thing didn't work, or somebody had an argument. And that reality of we're all in this together pulls us back into that feeling of community. So that's what we're going to be doing. And up till then, the other thing we've been talking about in our groups is that those 2 groups of families, how are we going to keep engaged the keen who want more and want to do more, and how are we going to try and pull back in the peripheral families that are struggling and aren't looking to disciple their kids and are really missing church. So how are we physically going to turn up with a bag, with a gift, we're praying for you? How are we going to be asking them about their lives? How are we going to be showing them that we're still interested and we still care and this community is still here for you? And then how are we going to try and keep giving great content for those that are engaged? So there we are. I've waffled about quite a few things there. Ed, do you need me to clarify anything that I've just said? A lot of enthusiasm.
Amy, everything's coming out loud. You're telling us every thought you're having. Did anyone just want to ask, while you work it out, if there's a question for Amy on what she has just said, Amanda has just helpfully put in a comment about what she did when we produced The Wonder of Easter, which I found quite inspiring just to read. I know Amanda. So Amanda, could you just unmute yourself and I'll ask you 2 questions. Are you there, Amanda?
I'm here.
Great, Amanda. Just tell us, Amanda, what you did with The Wonder of Easter and why.
I think as a children's worker, one of the things that I really want to achieve, and I'm sure everybody else would say the same, is to equip parents to teach the Bible to their children. We've got these children for an hour. And so I'm aware that in the last church I worked in, there was just a broad spectrum of parents who were really faithfully doing that, and parents that was absolutely terrifying. So when Ed launched his book, I went straight to the elders and said, can we buy a copy for all all the families. They wonderfully agreed. And then I put a plan together. So the first thing I did was send out a survey to all the parents. I asked them a few questions, including a sort of tick box about how often they did Bible studies, if they'd never done them, if they did them like once a month, once a week, a few times a week, that sort of thing. If they would like me to meet up with them, either as a family or to go round individually with the parents. And so we did that, and a lot of parents got back to me and asked if I could meet up with them, which was so encouraging. So I did that. I talked through what it would look like. I shared my experience. So I've got 3 children who are now grown up, and we always did, well, we regularly did a family Bible study time, but I was a very new Christian. My kids were typically unenthusiastic. So just being able to share that very honestly. And then when I worked out a timetable, a bit like Amy was saying, and in our kids slot, we acted out and we got the kids to be part of it every week, the key story. Obviously, that's going to look different this time with lockdown, but like on Palm Sunday, I bought just a massive box of palm leaves, so all the kids could have a palm leaf and waved it out. They absolutely loved that. That really helped the parents, I think.
And Amanda, you visited a few in your church. Just tell us an example of one of how that went.
I never actually sat down with a family and did the Bible study with them. So what I did was I met parents either in their homes or in a coffee shop. One lady was about to emigrate, and we sat there and I opened the book and we literally went through, and I told her what it would look like to do it with her daughter, I suppose. And she emailed me from Canada to say she'd taken the book and she's doing the Bible studies with her. Yeah.
And one thing we could say is that in lockdown, we're all most desperate for relationship and contact. So while at the moment, in this current lockdown, we can't be in each other's homes, I suspect in January we'll at least be able to be in people's gardens.
Yeah.
So that idea of visiting, talking it through and encouraging is something maybe not just us do. Our team, Sunday school helpers, you know, we give 2 families to each Sunday school helper. And that idea of how are you doing? How can I encourage you? Have you ever done a family Bible time before? Should we attempt one together, and so on?
And the families were great at messaging, so that so they would send in photos of the things that the kids had drawn, and it just became quite a big church thing, and parents were talking to each other about and that was really I think that was really important to get the parents to talk to each other. Thanks.
A church WhatsApp group, a parents WhatsApp group for a season to say, let's do this together. Yeah. Amy, there was a question for you. Do you want to answer that question? Thank you, Amanda.
I can't see where the question is, Ed. Sorry. Was it about peripheral families? I've answered that one.
Yeah. Have you? You've answered that, have you?
Yes, I've said keep loving them, keep praying for them, keep finding reasons to turn up on their doorsteps.
Thank you. And then Kath has answered, dropped off biscuits, and you'd say that's the way to go. A brownie on a doorstep does wonders.
I'd also say so much of what we're saying is one way. We're saying, here's the stuff that we want you to do. Here's the stuff that we want you to turn up to. So try and make space in what you're doing to say, what are you doing? We're still interested in your life. We don't just need to see your picture about the story on Sunday. I want to hear about when Granny came round for dinner. You know, I want to see your new jumper. You know, you can do that within your own church. You can share those news chats on Zoom, on your Instagram page, on your website, on however, so that your children know that this isn't just we're throwing things at you to do. We still love you. We still want to know about your lives. And I think trying to get some of your team involved in sending cards and sending pictures and little video messages, yes, but perhaps via parents or whatever. But we all know that in that Sunday school chat, when you, particularly with those younger ones, the thing that would overtake your lesson would be the news session that everyone wanted to tell you about the, you know, the Lego thing that they built yesterday. you know, try and find creative ways to still make space for the traffic coming back of what they want to share with you about their lives. Because that's relationship.
Thank you. We've had a question of, if we were coaching families in how to do Bible times, what would we say? The first thing I would say is, if you're going to make a video, don't make a video of a pretend Bible time. Make a video of a family actually doing a Bible time, because my experience is most people believe that when we say family Bible time, we mean children sitting very well around a table, listening intently, writing notes, which they refer to later in the day and pray through when they're on their own in their quiet time. So the picture that I have learned to show everyone is this one. I show that photo to everyone I speak to about family Bible times, which is me running a family Bible time, which my wife took, where you see one daughter is hanging over the sofa with her bum in the air. The other son is doing the equivalent. There is one of the three children who is engaged, and that is only because my arm is wrapped around him and he can't do anything else. So that is a picture of a normal family Bible time from the bloke who claims to know about family Bible times and writes books on it. So if you can make a video of an equivalent, which no family wants to do because they'll say, but they'll hear me shouting and my child will storm off in the middle and we'll all be in tears. And you say, I know, we need to see that. Otherwise, we don't believe it's real. So if I was advising someone how to make it, how to help families, I'd first of all say, your family is different. It's going to be chaos, but your own family's version of chaos. There are some families and it's not chaos. And I think, well done. You're doing something even better than me, but I can't manage that. Okay. Lots of people, he's not licking your face. That's quite right. If you've watched the video of Josh licking my face, as I tried, Caitlin is here. We sent her a video and Josh licked my face. That's available for you to see on YouTube because we have a normal family like yours. Okay. So we are now, there's so many comments and I'm not going to read them all out, but I hope you're there because what we're finally doing, we're getting there. We're nearly there at the end. And suddenly you've all decided you're confident enough to tell us what you do because you've discovered no one has a clue. Okay. So well done. I'm going to tell everyone that I am Amy. I'm going to do that. Right. We're now going to go to a breakout group for the last time. Okay. And the question is, this is your last time, last energy is there a next step that you're taking away? And it doesn't need to be, I will do this. It might just be, I'm going to think more about that. Is there a next step you're taking away? Because I'm not so arrogant as to believe that 2 hours with us is going to fix the world. But is there a next step, a next consideration you have? Or is there a question you're going to take away, which you're really bugged by? And you might even share that with everyone else on chat. But I keep asking you that one. One next step. And Anita will press. I will leave you to write some remaining questions, annoyances, frustrations in the chat. Cara, could you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. I hadn't checked you were here, Cara. You're to the... Cara, you are in St. Nick's, Sevenoaks. You spoke a couple of times ago at the big day out. So now we've asked you to do something, and you've been very gracious in doing it, which is we asked you to say a little about what you personally are finding hard. What are some of the things you are finding disappointing? Because we're a little nervous that a training on what to do next can have the opposite to the desired effect, which is instead of inspiring, it just lays a greater burden than we walked in with. So just tell us, Cara, a little of how you're finding it and how you cope with that sense of I'm not quite up to seemingly what some are expecting of me, or at least what I'm expecting of me. Cara, you talk.
So I think if you'd asked me that question this time last week, I would have said that I'm feeling nervously optimistic about January and perhaps getting kids groups up and running again. I had some plans forming in my head that I was sort of excited by. I haven't been able to plan very much. So that was a nice feeling to think, oh, things are starting to happen again. That's great. And I was beginning to get my head around the fact that I think we're really having to think about not just restarting groups, but relaunching our groups. So the church that I'm at has a huge fringe. We're not sure how many of those fringy families are going to come back. So we don't know how many kids are going to be in the groups. The team itself has shrunk to about 30% of what it was pre-COVID. Some for good reasons. You know, people's capacity at the moment is just so different to what it was, that the idea of helping in a kids group or leading a kids group was just too much for most people. Some are vulnerable or caring for vulnerable, and so couldn't commit. And then on top of that, we lost the building that we would use for all of our 7s to 14-year-olds. So there were so many things up in the air, and I was beginning to get my head around that. And now, if I'm honest, I'm just feeling quite despondent about it all. And the idea of sitting down and making plans for January, which might change a few days before we implement those plans, actually it doesn't thrill me. You know, I've got limited energy physically, emotionally. I'm just not sure if I've got the welly in me to do that. So what am I going to do? Well, I think the answer is to keep talking to families. I think that was the lesson I learned through lockdown, was to keep talking to the families. And actually what I discovered was that families didn't need me to do stuff. They don't need me to put more stuff on. They don't need me to send them loads of things. What they want is for me to be their sister, for me to be their friend, for me to give them time. So when that 8-year-old girl, when her pet chicken died, having the time to have a FaceTime with that child was the thing that family needed and valued. They didn't need me to send them resources on how to deal with death as a child. They just needed me to listen and to sit with that child via FaceTime and her dead chicken. It was a very weird experience, but I'm glad I did it. I think I've also got to realise that the team are the people that I rely on. They're not just, I think it's easy in our kind of roles, whether that's formal or informal, to think that we're the ones leading, but actually we're also the ones that rely as well. So if I'm honest, there are families in our church that I haven't had any contact with, and that seems really shocking, but I know that those families have had contact with trusted people on my team, and so they've been looking after those families. It doesn't all rest on my shoulders, and it really shouldn't, and actually it can't. I can't possibly do that. So I think I've had to learn to let the team do their work. They're the ones that are best placed for it, and I can't do it anyway. Even if I had all the time, all the energy, it wouldn't be the right thing. And I think I've got to learn to use the team in all stages. I think it's really easy to think, I will go to the team with all of my great ideas about how we restart groups in January, if that's possible. But actually what I want to do is to have a Zoom meeting, get us all together and say, what's our big aim as a team? What are we trying to do Sunday by Sunday? And then let them tell me how we go about implementing that vision. I don't think all the team will be able to come, but I think what that will do, it will gather the key team players, and they will take an idea and they will run with it. And isn't that what we really long for partners in ministry, not just people that are going to do the jobs that Cara needs them to do Sunday by Sunday. So I think that's one way I'm going to cope, is by making better use of the team and being willing to rely on them, and let them do the work that the Lord has equipped them to do and has gifted them to do. I also think, like this week, I had a coffee with a new woman in our church. She joined a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me why I do my job. And that was so helpful. Like, in the Lord's kindness, that was a brilliant question to ask me. And it has helped me be a bit more positive, because what it did is it took me out of my COVID world, and it reminded me of why I'm doing this in the first place. I think lots of us would say that what we're doing isn't recognisable to the jobs or the roles that we were doing pre-COVID. It feels very different. But the essence of what I'm doing hasn't changed. How I go about it might have, but the gospel is still true. I still long for children and families to have the hope that only Christ offers. And one day we will be around the throne of Jesus, and there will be children there that you had in your Sunday school group. And so I would really recommend doing that yourself. Ask yourself the question, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I think that's been really, really hugely helpful to me this week. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to spend hours on it. Do it while you're brushing your teeth. Don't make it a burden, but I would recommend doing that. And Ed, one of your questions was, what about self-care? Oh, I'm terrible at this. I am the worst person to answer this question, because I'm the girl that doesn't go to bed on time, and she doesn't eat regular meals, and she doesn't leave her house for 17 days straight, and then she's on the stairs crying at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, take everything that I'm about to say through that lens of someone who is not good at this. But we do need to feed our hearts, don't we? We go back to the Lord. I'm not the Messiah. He's already been appointed as the Messiah. He's very good at being the Messiah. I am not. So I'm having to be more disciplined in making sure that I'm going back to him. I've started, rather than, I'm finding it hard to just sit down and pray for an extended period of time. So what I'm doing is I'm using my mobile. I go out on a walk, and I put my phone to my ear on silent, and I talk into my phone so that people don't try and talk to me because I'm talking to the Lord. It's just, it's helped me to pray. So find things that work for you. And one of my big lessons in the first lockdown was that I did miss people, but I think what I missed about people was having fun and laughing. Everything was so intense and so serious all of the time, and I missed laughing. So, that's going to be different for all of us. Find ways in the new restrictions of enjoying things. It's not very deep, is it? I'm sorry that I don't have anything more deeper to say.
It's fine. It's fine. If I'm going to take away from this that you literally phone God when you pray, and that you'd quite like someone to laugh at.
Yeah,
you're available for that, Cara.
Thanks, Ed.
Cara, thank you very, very much. Look, people are commenting and saying they're very grateful. I'm very grateful, Cara. Thank you. I know that now feels like you've been rather exposed because you've just now told us about yourself, but we're very grateful, and I'm sorry for asking you to do that. Thank you very much, Cara. I'm not going to ask for any questions for Cara. She's done enough to help us. Let her go now. Amy is briefly going to tell us a bit about Christmas, because in our group, quite normally and sensibly, our group was saying our heads are totally in Christmas, but we get why we're doing this now. That is, your immediate goal is Christmas. It's the beginning of November. No one thinks you've got that sorted. We're doing this now because we're sowing the seed, because it takes longer, and some of those best ideas take longer to percolate. Okay, so Amy is just going to help us to put our eyes on the next thing. Amy, tell us about Christmas.
Okay, well, Ed, you're going to be my lovely assistant, aren't you? So at this point, we're going to reveal the lovely, you've probably met them already, the lovely gingerbread cast of this year's Emmanuel, God with us nativity.
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
I'm not ready.
Villa, I'm doing a dance. Da, 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 da.
Oh, really? You're not going to do anything else instead of
No, I'm going to put the pressure on you. So in our breakout groups, we had lots of chats about all sorts of ideas for Christmas. A lot of them have been to our previous Christmas Big Day Out training session, which is on YouTube. So you can catch up with that if you didn't get to see it. And Ed, still, it wasn't that hard, Ed. It's only one slide, love. Okay, I could have done it myself. Here we go. It's a blank screen. Oh no, we're not doing the video. We don't need to.
What did you want?
Just the picture of the cast.
Oh goodness me, Amy! You want the world on a stick?
I want one PowerPoint slide, Drew.
Oh, okay, it's coming. There you go. Is that what you wanted?
Go. That's what we just wanted to see the cast, because I was just going to tell you that all of our resources are linked to this theme in Matthew, God with us. Slick, Ed. Slick.
No one noticed, Amy. Keep talking.
No one noticed, it's fine. So yes. So here is our gingerbread nativity. So this is a mini movie that is on YouTube. You might have seen it on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram feed. This is something for you to use. You can download it. You can use it in your Sunday services. You can put it on whatever. So it's available there. And that pulls together the theme that all of our Christmas resources are centered around. The good news that we all need. God is not socially distant from us. He's right there, right in our bubble, with us to help us, to love us, to save us. So this is your next technological challenge, Ed. You're now going to walk us through going to the website like you did before. You can do it. I believe in you, brother.
Yeah, got it. Hang on.
So, because we all need to do this because it goes wrong. And if you do it on a phone and you've downloaded files and you can't find them again, if you swipe down in your phone screen and look in your files, you'll probably find them. I found a lot of things I'd downloaded and didn't know where they'd gone in my files download box on my phone. So, Faith in Kids website. Here we go.
Yeah.
Scrolling down. This is our organisation's website.
Yep.
There we go. Where we went before. We're going to click on that. God with us. Lovely. And here is a list of our resources. So I'll leave it there. I'll talk to you about them. So Bake Along a Christmas. Ed won the battle and got that mouthful of a name. So that is going to be the weekend of, Ed, tell me again.
The 11th to the 13th of December, we will be working with a high-class baker to make a real live cook, bake while you watch a video for families. So we will record a 25-minute show to be broadcast on the 11th and the 13th of December. You will arrange to deliver the ingredients that we will supply a month in advance. We won't supply the ingredients, we'll supply the list of ingredients a month in advance. So you put a box of ingredients on the doorstep of people's houses. Maybe each family in church puts 2 boxes on the doorsteps of friends with the details of how to log in. They watch it. They make biscuits in front of their very eyes with the master baker, while I intersperse it with 90-second long mini kids talks on understanding that God is with us at Christmas. Amy.
So that is another excuse for us to turn up on families' doorsteps with something. And this is another event because families are fed up and they want stuff to do and the weather's getting worse. So this is something that Faith in Kids that we can take off you and that we can host for you, and you can do the personal contact of turning up to the family. Here is the thing, we're going to do this together. You know, then we all get to chat about how ridiculous it was, or what we burnt or broke, or what didn't work. So that's Bake Along at Christmas. If you didn't get to see these amazing pictures last time, there we go. That was that idea, Bake Along at Christmas. The next one, Walkabout Nativity. So that is a walk through. You've got your scenes set up in a park, in your church, car park, garden, whatever. And the families walk together through the nativity story. There's a script there for you to use. There's ideas of how to do it. The lovely Jam has written it for us, and it's really, really good. So hopefully, I was hoping to be able to do this in our church building. I don't think we are going to be able to do it in our church building, but what I'm hoping to now do is to have different people do it in their gardens, so that it's almost their families in our community, you walk past and you see people acting it out in their own front garden. There you go. Zoom Nativity. So that's a virtual nativity play. Again, Jam's written a script. It's funny. It's good. I love it. Someone else has done something and I can use it. Hallelujah. As a church, we pre-record our services. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to pre-record sections. So I'm going to split that up and get families to record their sections. We're going to edit it together and put it in so that the whole church can join in together, because we're just a bit big to keep anything and anyone under control in Zoom. But we want to have that feeling of fun and chaos in Zoom. So we're going to do our own church kids' Christmas party on Zoom, which is just going to be, we can let chaos reign and throw snowballs around and things like that. But anyway, that's how we could use that one. Car park carols. Now, when I pitched these ideas to my church leadership, I had to be ready to throw some in the bin. I think we're probably going to end up throwing Walkabout Nativity in the bin, unless I can get some keen families to stay with me. You win some, you lose some. We've decided to make car park carols our church priority, so that if we manage to pull off that one thing, that would be great. We meet in a leisure centre, which has got a great big car park. They are excited about us using their car park. They want to do something for the community, but they have said to us, wait till the 20th of December, because by that point we think things will definitely be open. So we're going to go for that. We're looking into hiring virtual silent disco headphones for people to use in their cars. And so this resource it just gives you a running order, gives you ideas of things that families can do in their car, gives you ideas of things to say, things to sing. So you then get to put your energy into working out the practicals of how could you make that happen in your own church, your own supermarket, your own blah-de-blah. Christmas on your corner. That is Ed. You're passionate about that one, aren't you? That is like the Christmas version of Clap for Carers. You stand on your street, you shout at them about Jesus, you sing some songs.
It's karaoke carols. Someone brings a guitar. There's a website, christmascametome.com. There they go on their phone, they find the words of the carols, the word of the readings. There's a resource there to download to explain it, to see how you can do it, a mock-up of an invitation you could drop in every door. The great strength of this is the people in your church know their road. So when they knock on the door, they're not a Jehovah's Witness, they're not a salesman, they are someone they know who they smile at. So when they say, I know this is weird, but I'm going to stand there a week tonight with my mate who plays the guitar. We're going to play 6 carols, find the words on christmascametome.com. Let's do it. It's weird. And they'll go, that sounds fun. Amy, you're almost finished, aren't you?
I am. So those are our resources. Those are that use them, download them, use the video, go for it. But also in our breakout group, there were some brilliant ideas. We're all looking for more things to give to encourage families. We're all looking for more ways to turn up and do something and be kind. Lots of people were suggesting how they're going to use some of the Christmas Advent resources to give to families. So the Christmas surprise, I put it in the chat. So to turn up and give a family a Christmas resource so that they can use it, they can follow it through as a family. It's another reason to turn up on the doorstep as well as the bake along to say, get you in the mood so that when we're doing Meals with Jesus, you've already been using these Advent family Bible time material and you're ready to go.
Amy, thank you. Well done. I'm just putting in the chat now a blog we wrote during the last lockdown to help, to slide under the door of a church leader to say, here are some ways when you're online preaching for engaging children who are sitting on the sofa and mum and dad can't quite get them to engage or concentrate. I'm just putting that blog there because we're back into that world again, in case that's useful. Final things to say. This recording is going to be on YouTube. Anita will be emailing you the chat in the next, I'm going to say 24 hours, because Anita shocks me with how quickly she turns things around. So you can do that. I would love you to we ask every time we do a big day out this question, which is, are you the leader of the children's ministry in your church? And you haven't let us know that you are. So if you come to the big day out in pre-lockdown world, or you've sent us an email, you don't need to do this again. But we're trying to create this network that we can send you some things in the post, not newsletters, but actual things that will help you. So could you please email us your name, the name of your church, and the postal address of your church? We promise Amy won't come and knock on your door. That's why we're saying the postal address of your church, because we don't let Amy know where people actually live. Okay, great. Second thing. Oh no, quick, not that one, this one. In January and February, we're in about year 3 of partnering with Cornhill, London, to run 5 afternoons of teaching Sunday school, giving children's talks, giving all age talks. So practical sessions, train first, see us have a go, you have a go, we give you loving, gentle feedback, we all leave able to do these things better. Because of lockdown, this could be a blessing to those who live outside of Southeast England, because apparently some people do. So this is available on Zoom. There's only 10 places. If you want to know more details, the dates, the cost, what it's going to be, the plan, info@faithinkids.org, 10 places. If you're in another country, you could join us. Okay. I have now got to Meals with Jesus. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the discount code, Eating Alongside Jesus. That's provided by the Good Book Company to get 10 copies of Meals with Jesus for £30. This is a ministry pack, so it's designed for churches, and then it only works on the UK Good Book Company website. So South Africans, if you let me know, I'll find a friend who's going to Johannesburg or Cape Town in the next month, and they'll bring them to you. I don't know who that person is going to be. I'm not offering. So this is the code you need. I've talked enough about Meals with Jesus. I don't need to say anything more about it. The only thing I have left to say, eating alongside Jesus. You can watch the video if you missed that. The last thing I want to say is, this group here are what Faith in Kids think of as our super users, our super friends. That is, this group here are the people who understand the families in their church and their needs. So you are the people who, when you speak to us, we need to listen. When you say your resource is too complicated, when you say this is too late, when you say this should have been a month later, when you say, why can't you give us more resources on, we listen to you. Because we get some emails that say, thank you, this is lovely, we're so grateful. They're great, we need them to keep going. What we find very rarely is the people who say, do you know what you could do a bit better? Do you know what you could do a bit more of? Do you know what you could do a bit less of? So we mainly sit in our spare rooms trying to work out how to help churches. And if you were to email us to tell you how we could help you, it makes our day. And it doesn't even have to be, thank you, you're doing well. It could be starting off with, do you know what makes me so angry about you? We'd still read it. Thank you very much. So that's only to say, the fact you're here today tells us a lot about you. And that's why we want to know who you are, how we can post things to you. And that email we keep giving you, info@faithinkids.org. Just send us something. Just tell us what to do. Send us an idea for a blog. Tell us what we should do on a podcast. Tell us what resource we need to give you. Okay? If you wanted to give us £20 a month, you really could. I think we're done. I don't think I have anything else to say. It's 12:25. I can let you out early. It's your last chance to type in the chat. I don't think anyone's got anything else to say. I'm going to pray to finish. I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. Father, that is the truth. That is the case now. You are on your throne. You are holy, holy, holy. And the whole earth, even in lockdown, is full of your glory. Thank you, Father, that because of who you are, we can continue. Please supply, Father, what we are lacking. But thank you most of all, you supplied what we were most lacking in Christ. Thank you for the inspiration, the care and the love of others. Thank you for the wisdom in this group. Please equip us for what lies ahead, in your strength alone, for your glory alone, and for the good of your people. Amen.